So what's the course that what are you guys doing?
Bachelor in Nursing. So we're both third year nursing students,
yeah.
and we're about to pretty much start practicing next year. So
the public have a perception that nurses or social workers are being trained in these areas, but the fact is we're not.
we're not.
But that was kind of news to us as well. I think, for me personally, I would have thought that it would have been being covered somewhere.
And so, how did you come across Willow or safeguarding children, I should say?
Very good question. I stumbled onto a safeguarding training session in Westport.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that caught my eye with it was actually I knew that the Vulnerable Children's Act was coming up. So I thought, I'll just stick my nose into that. And I was absolutely blown away in a meeting of over 50 people that I could only spot 3 or 4 education people in the mix.
So what triggered you guys to do the training, the child protection training?
Probably because we had to. I think it was because we've looked at some small contracts with the Ministry of Youth Development and the Ministry of Social Development. So under their audit requirements, we are required to have a children's policy. Fair enough. And we did have one, but it wasn't very good. And then we thought, well, we need to do this. And then through doing that, we realised that actually we need to do more than what we've got. And so we did that training, and it's real simple stuff, but actually really, really important.
It was just about making sure children are safe, full stop. And working in sport, it's just quite it's a gateway for things to go wrong. There's a lot of good that goes on, and I just want to make sure that kids are safe and they can flourish in sport, in all the clubs and schools.
I was aware that child abuse occurred, and the rates were high here in New Zealand, but I didn't really understand for myself. I didn't have the confidence to be able to go, well, hey, this is what I can do, and this is what the general public can do to not only observe and be aware of it, but also to how to report or how to go about making an inquiry even.
And I think this is something that was talked about during our lecture, is the fact that this isn't a part of undergraduate study or undergraduate training, and it's something that is important. We talk about the determinants of health for all New Zealanders, and child abuse is obviously going to be a huge one that has an impact on the health and well-being of children, and then furthermore into the adults of our country in the future.
You got to cut to what's your core role. If you're the teaching game, you're actually really concerned about the development of the child and the well-being of the child. If you're going to park that to one side, you're not doing anybody any favours. If you've got concerns about the child, you've got to raise them, because they're not going to go away. You somehow got to work your way through it. And it actually makes the learning and those other things better if you've got a well child.
We're blown away by the fact that there isn't any training for specific training in child protection for teachers and for nurses and for doctors.
It's certainly not part of the the university work that the teacher trainees go through. There is a requirement now on schools to provide that training, and that part of our impetus was actually, if it's in the policy, staff have got to go through it, and they've got to be regularly updated. There's no specific identification of, what does attachment look like with kids, what are the abuse indicators, nothing like that.
I think we've got a lot of sport organisations and schools with policies, but not necessarily good procedures, and lots of individuals that are not too sure what to do. So they've got the policy, but the procedures aren't clear enough.
Is it a real risk? Are you aware of clubs that have got it wrong, or?
The media jumps on the sports clubs that, or some of the schools that have had coaches, and not many hit the media, but the ones that do, they get shared around within the sporting community, and that area will make a change. But unfortunately, we're not seeing a national change.
So we're changing. We're being reactive.
Yes.
rather than preventative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as like in training for nursing, I assume that there's some training as far as, or maybe that's doctors, I don't know. Excuse my ignorance.
It's fine.
Like the bruises and signs and is there anything like that,
Well,
like the physical stuff?
Not really.
About child abuse?
Not,
Yeah.
not.
No.
That's what we're saying.
Okay, so
Nothing.
Nothing.
Like
Okay.
The
generally, you've got broken arms and bones and
Yeah.
bruising, but that's general. There's nothing specific that
There's
teaches
nothing
us.
to go, what do you call it, hair straighteners is a common thing. So hair straightener burns. Do you have any examples like that are ever given to you in your training, and this is a sign of something that needs to be
Incredible,
followed
right?
up
We've
on?
got like the
That's why we've been-
worst child abuse stats in the
Yeah.
world.
And we're not getting. That's why we're so passionate about this course.
Many of the young people that we come across who perhaps are the ones who are on the receiving end of this stuff that, or maybe for the first time in their lives, when they work with our tutors or instructors, they for the first time in their lives they suddenly realise that people can be decent. You know, they can be trustworthy, they can be trusting, and they form a relationship which is incredibly positive, incredibly strong. You know, so the tutors then become role models for those young people, which is great. One of the challenges we've got is then that can then when they feel safe and secure and supported, then they can bring up a whole lot of stuff which then is challenging for us to deal with. And so we've been enacting that reporting to Rangatamariki now for maybe 7 months, something like that, and I've probably made about 8 reports. So that's 8 reports that we wouldn't have made.
For our staff in particular, it just gave some real clarity to them what constitutes abuse, neglect, what are the indicators, what we're looking at. And the best thing about it was that everybody, you could tell, they were kind of buzzing that actually they've got information there that they didn't have before, and actually the awareness was raised significantly.
Now I feel armed with the tools to be able to go, okay, well, I suspect this here, and I now know how to make an inquiry. I now know who to talk to, or even if I can get somebody else to come in to support, and then how to make a report and how to go about it.
Some of the things that you will be looking at as nurses, the long-term significance of that is pretty small, like mending a broken finger or something. Compared to picking up on signs of abuse. Which
Exactly.
have lifelong consequences and generational consequences.
Definitely.
And society, for the wider society as well.
Yeah. Definitely, I totally agree.
Nutshell.
That's the hardest thing to sell, is you as an individual need to look out for this, and we don't want to look out for it because we don't believe it's happening.
If we've got 5th worst child abuse stats in the OECD, that just seems like the most basic fundamental thing to do to make an influence is to maybe teach the people that often have regular contact with children like the accurate signs to look for. Yeah,
and that's the ground that when I was working with safeguarding for children, it really has come down to it. And seriously, they have to promote their own work. The fact that they're their own advocates is a difficult proposition. Not only do they have to get the message out there, but they've got to work out ways of actually funding to get the message out there. Take your hat off to them.
But why is it that you think it's not a compulsory part of?
I actually don't know the answer to that. Is it funding for it? I don't know. And it's so easy to say, it should be a part of undergraduate study, but there must be a reason why it's not happening. But I think that it's important for it to be a focus, and if there is an answer to it, then we should probably know why it's not happening, and then is there something we can do to change it? Because this is a public health concern. For New Zealand, it's
the whole country.
It just continues on and on and on. So something has to change.
Yeah.